Welcome back to another edition of the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. This is Richard here, and this is episode number 70. Now, we have a special guest here today because, as you will already know, this isn't Rob talking. There is no cheesy, crazy little intro. This is just me fumbling my way through, and I am joined today by our dear friend, Mr. Christopher Tall. Chris.
Good evening.
How's it going, Chris? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too
bad. The man's been on nights all week.
Yeah.
He's a trooper. He's come down to help us out. And let's talk about cricket today. So let's get started straight away. Now, this is not the nicest topic to talk about, but let's just get caught up. New Zealand, Bangladesh. Obviously, a great series of cricket was being played in New Zealand in Rob's backyard, and it didn't particularly go to plan in the end. And the big news was obviously that horrible terrorist attack that happened in Christchurch. So, why we want to speak about it on this podcast really is the news that Bangladesh cricketers were only a few minutes away from actually being inside that mosque, which were one of the mosques that obviously had one of the fatal shootings. So. Apparently, players and coach were only 50 yards away at the time. And it sounds like a press conference overran at Hagley Oval, which was going to be the venue for the cancelled third test. Chris, life's got a funny way of...
It's just shocking, isn't it? It takes you back to the instance in Pakistan. All it was the captain having a press conference, and apparently some of the players were having a game of football or something that took a bit longer than it should have done.
Yeah. And
that's the difference between being in a room with a madman and not.
Yeah, exactly. 50 people lost their lives in Christchurch. It's absolutely horrific. It's been incredible to see the reaction of the Prime Minister over there, and just the way people around the world have kind of stood together as well. So a lot of love that comes out of that, but obviously really, really sad news. There was obviously some cricket that was played before this, and it was all New Zealand. ODIs 3-0, Tests were 2-0 up, and obviously that third one in Christchurch was cancelled. So that wraps that one up really. Let's not talk any more about that, and let's get into what's been going on around the world. First things first, Chris. Test cricket is about to have a bit of an upheaval. The traditionalists, the purists, will not necessarily be overly happy about this. There's been a few people getting a bit excited about it, and I'm not quite sure why. We're talking about having names and numbers on the back of shirts, Chris. What's your thoughts? I mean, that's not a bad thing, is it?
I don't think it is. It's been quite interesting. The cynical side of me sees an awful lot of commentators saying it's a great idea, probably because they can't recognise one player from another anymore. But no, I think I don't have a problem with shirts and numbers. We've got it in ODI cricket. The county championships got it.
Yeah.
I don't see why the difference is. The other thing, of course, is back when we were youngsters, Richard, and somebody fielded it or took a catch, the little light went up on the score box. Well, those score boxes have all been replaced by big screens now. So, as a spectator, you're not necessarily sure who's been fielded.
It's a fair point. I remember that at Trent Bridge, they used to have on the old scoreboard before we got the big TV screen, didn't we? We used to have the little red button next to the 1 to 11. You had all the players' names, and then that was the person.
The little light came on, and you knew who fielded it, and you had to go and buy your match card, so you knew you numbered 1 to 11, and then listen out and see who got subbed in and subbed out.
Didn't even have the names, did it? Just had 1 to 11. Love it.
Just 1 to 11.
Love it. Was it. County Championship changed though. 2003 this started, so we've seen cricket unbelievably with white shirts and white trousers, and they had names and numbers on it in cricket. It's not the end of the world, folks. It's going to be okay. 142 years of Test cricket. It's going to be here a lot longer, and sticking someone's name and a number on the back of the shirt will not do any harm whatsoever.
Just one thing on that. I think from a commercial point as well, it's a good idea for youngsters. If you want to be the next Ben Stokes or the next whoever, you can now have a Test match shirt with your hero's name on the back.
I think that's one of the drivers for it. The ICC, they want to make players more easily identifiable, and they want to encourage greater engagement either into Test cricket. So I think that's where they're coming from a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
The MCC, the ICC, they're all monkeying around with different ideas at the minute. The MCC are proposing a few things as well. One ball, Chris. At the minute, we've got the Dukes, we've got the SG, we've got the Kookaburra. They're proposing one ball be used when the World Test Championship starts, which, coincidentally, starts in the Ashes this summer.
Good. Dukes.
So that's where Tory's vote goes. And they're also talking a few things here. It'd be interesting to see what people's takes are. Free hit to follow a no ball in Test cricket. A timer or countdown clock to count down from 45 seconds to call over. Lots of that sort of stuff. Obviously, none of this is going to happen straight away, but these recommendations can go to a general meeting of the ICC so the ICC or Test Nation, can approve. So yeah, big changes potentially coming, but it's an opportunity, isn't it? The World Championship, whatever you want to call it, is coming forward. Now's the time to try a few different things, I suppose.
I think it's a good idea to try and get some continuity, as we've seen that the ball plays a massive role in the game of cricket, and it just seems odd, and I know Rob has been ranting on about it in various things, that different ball, different results, different everything. So I think it's quite good that we're going to be looking at one ball. I think, interestingly, is it Sheffield Shield? They've been playing with the Duke's ball just recently.
Getting ready for the English summer.
I think there is an acclimatisation process going on around the world to get ready for a ball that moves sideways rather than just straight up and down.
Yeah, sensible stuff. We'll get on to Australia in a little bit later. There is one or two bits of news with a couple of very, very well-known people with regards to that. Obviously, the other thing that Test cricket has probably got I don't want to say the issue with, but I suppose it is really, isn't it? It's the over rate. Obviously, Jason Holder was, I don't want to say controversially banned earlier a few months ago, earlier in the winter, because the over rate sucked. So, at some point, you've got to actually clamp down on this. And I don't think we need stop clocks, timers and klaxons and whatever else, bells and whistles. I think you just need the captains just to be actually playing the game a little bit more and just keeping the play moving along, and as Bumble would say, get on with the game.
Absolutely right. I mean, I'll be honest, there's two takes on this. There's a lot of people saying, I don't care about the over rate, I go to be entertained, and actually, if that means that fast bowlers are only bowling 12 overs but they're bowling really well, I don't mind. I don't want to see a part-timer come on. Yeah. I can see that argument, but there are times when you do feel shortchanged at a cricket game. Yeah. You go to watch a day's cricket and you're getting 3/4 of a day's cricket.
Yeah.
But in terms of Holder and everything, the conventions are set down at the start of a test. These are the amount of overs you've got to play every hour, and if you don't do it, this is what happens to you.
Yep.
So,
exactly.
As sad as it was to see him removed from that final test match, it was going to happen.
Yeah. I suppose I wasn't going to talk about it now, but I suppose it's just a good point just to drift onto it naturally. How did you see the winter? How did you see, obviously, forget the Test, but the ODIs, obviously looking towards the World Cup, the T20 series. How did you see England?
Very topsy-turvy. It didn't pan out how people expected. I think the most exciting for me was that we seem to have a bit of a resurgent West Indies 11.
Yep.
Certainly in the Test, and then in the one day is where you thought England should be massively dominant. And I think looking at results from other areas as well, that they haven't been what we'd have expected. A lot of the one-day results recently, which leading up to the World Cup, is quite interesting. I think it's going to be a lot more open than people think.
Yeah.
I was disappointed about the West Indies in the T20s, to be honest. I thought they'd be a lot stronger.
Yeah, it just kind of faded out into a little bit of a damp squib, didn't it, at the end of the T20s. The ODIs was cracking stuff. I mean, Chris Gale, universe boss, Lord of the World, whatever.
It was exceptional. It was tooth and nail, gladiator stuff.
Yeah, different planet, wasn't it? And, it is really good. West Indies are going to be competitive. And a few months ago, we wouldn't have been saying competitive. No. So I think that's going to be really good. And they'll surprise a few people. As for England, I'm still a little bit unsure. There's a few more question marks in the England setup than I thought there would be. But there's still really good depth. And the squad just seems locked in. And there's obviously the big argument over... Well, not argument at the minute. I'm maybe making it into an argument. I obviously wrote up a little bit about Jofra Archer recently. And I think there's got to be a way to get that guy in there. I think we're a little bit too inward looking. Paul Farbrace recently was talking about he's been very careful with his words.
Cagey, I'd say.
Yeah, but he didn't really seem to want to make any changes. That pretty settled England ODI setup.
It's a difficult one because they've already got too many for a settled 15. You look at, particularly in the bowling departments, you've got a lot of bowling all-rounders that can all bat. You've got Wokes, you've got Curran, Willie, Plunkett. You're now sticking in Jofra Archer. At the moment they've had a very settled team, good dressing room spirit and all the rest of it, and you're suggesting throwing somebody else in to jettison somebody. That's not always a positive sign, but
it's a tough one, isn't it? But then they're good players and they deserve a bit of loyalty. You want to have that settled squad, but there are the Currans, the Plunkets, the one or two of those around it where they're a bit of they're different styles, but they're on paper it's not the strongest looking ball attack in the world, but it's very samey. Yeah, exactly. I just think there's got to be a way, and I just think that the world just sometimes creates a situation where maybe Jofra Archer finds his way in, and it might be the injury, it might be something else, but who knows?
It puts a bigger emphasis on that ODI with Ireland and the series with Pakistan, and I think you'll go into that and players are playing for places, and that will be exciting.
Yeah, 100%. So let's just transition. A couple of bits of news that I want to just talk about first. Now, we are going to get on to some other exciting bits of world cricket at the moment, but this is very close to our home, Chris. This is at Trent Bridge. We've got a bit of a red ball retirement going on here.
Definitely. Everyone says it's signed a new white ball contract, but I said no, it's a red ball retirement.
Red ball retirement, that's what we're calling it. Mr. Gurney, the best death bowler in world cricket, and yes, I do mean at the end of an innings, and I don't mean hard of hearing. So he's got himself a white ball only deal at Trent Bridge until 2020, which is pretty good for a T20 specialist at the moment.
I mean, he's gold, isn't he?
He's gold. He's absolutely brilliant at the minute. He is 32 now. It's surprising, really, isn't it? He still looks a relatively young fella. He played 10 one-day internationals for England and a couple of T20s back in 2014. 14 wickets for him. He's had an absolutely, as you say, golden period now. He's gone and won himself the T10 competition. Yeah. He's got a little medal there. He's gone and won the Big Bash with the Melbourne Renegades. Yeah. He's just, spoiler alert, Pakistan Super League, Quetta Gladiators, he's got himself a win. And now he's on the plane, he's going across to India in the IPL to join the Kolkata Knight Riders. Is there anything this man can't win this winter? And what do you think about him signing that deal, obviously after Hales did the same to Notts a couple of years ago?
It's just a change in face, isn't it, of the way cricket's going. And, there's a lot more money involved, and players are looking to make sure that they look after themselves. I think it's a great deal for Gurney. But a good deal for Notts as well.
Yeah, I think last year, probably this time last year, we were talking about white ball contracts and we was getting a little bit concerned by it all. But to be honest, again, it's another player of a certain age. He's 32. He's not somebody that's really got international ambitions anymore. He'll be missed playing for Notts in County Championship, but Notts have made a really, really good signing today, and I wonder if they allowed Gurney to get his announcement out yesterday, just so it didn't sound like it was as a reaction to this. And that is the news that awesome Australian seamer, but very, very often injured, Darren Pattinson, is back at Trent Bridge. He had an unbelievable spell a year or two ago, and he's back, and he's going to be joining at the start of the summer, some county championship, about 7 games, and all of the 50-over competition.
Is he back for the start?
Yes.
Oh dear, you're going to have one heck of an attack for Notts, aren't you, early season?
Yeah, exactly. And Stuart Broad's going to be available as well, isn't he?
Fortunately, Warwickshire aren't playing you till June.
Yeah, and it's just worth mentioning, actually. We'll talk about it when we do look at the county championship in a bit more in depth in a couple of weeks' time, or when it starts. But when it does start, Notts are playing against Yorkshire. Joe Root's available, Broad's available. That's going to be box office. Hopefully, a lot of people will take advantage and wrap up warm in the early English summer. Keeping it with the T20 cricket, obviously we just mentioned that Mr. Gurney is a winner of the PSL this year. Let's have a quick look at that. So Quetta Gladiators, they've ended up winning it, a convincing win in the final, 8-wicket win in this competition. It was a final in Karachi. They got themselves in there by beating the finalist Peshawar Zalmi in the first qualifier. Then it was a toss-up. Peshawar beat Islamabad after Islamabad had beat Karachi. We love a couple of good eliminators. Anything to complicate a situation Absolutely. And a competition further, we love it. So Quetta got on the right side of it, though, 138 for 8 in their first innings. It was one of those, wasn't it? Mohammed Hasnain 330, Amin 38, just wasn't enough. In reply as well, Shane Watson fell early, but Ahmed Shahzad 58 or 51, he anchored the innings, he guided them. Riley Rousseau 39 as well to 140 for 2. 2 overs remaining, a pretty convincing win there. Chris Jordan and Timul Mills were both on the losing side as well, the Englishmen. I think, it's great, this competition, it's exciting, there's plenty of it. It's such a shame that we don't get to see it on TV over here. But the big story for this one is that cricket is back in Pakistan.
Massive.
Not just the odd game, but back in Pakistan, 10 years after the terrorist attack. And this is a clear message, isn't it? Pakistan love the cricket, and cricket can be played back to being played in Pakistan.
It's starting to flourish, and all the news that's coming out from the overseas players was what an exceptionally well organised tournament it was, how safe they felt, how much they've enjoyed it, and that's fantastic. There's nothing that you want more than to see Pakistan playing in Pakistan again. So I'm really optimistic that will be the case.
Yeah, it's one of those countries where I would have loved to have thought of Sri Lanka, India. I've been lucky enough to go to some sort of places, but it was always on my radar. I used to hear the stories about winning in Karachi as the lights were getting dimmer and dimmer. Yeah, what was it? Tell me, Mum, I had to put the curry on rice. We won in Karachi twice. Bloke called Mad Dog. Love that. But anyway, yeah, it's awesome to see. And just, Pakistan cricket for me, it's not quite getting the results it probably deserves at the minute. And they're going to be taking on Australia soon. We'll see what happens with that. But Pakistan, they're building something there. I like the look of what they're doing at the minute. Definitely. And it's fantastic to see cricket being played back over in Pakistan. A little bit of news, and I can't have you on the podcast, Chris, without you mentioning your absolute favourite player in the world ever.
Oh, no.
There's a certain fella, Islamabad United, he was having a bit of a net and he's gone and done himself a mischief, mate.
Stop it.
Ian Bell, he's going to miss 3 months.
He's out
for
3
months.
He's out for 3 months. Ball onto foot, into hospital. He's had the operation, that's been successful, but he's going to miss 3 months, so...
That's a shocker, mate. That is a huge loss for Warwickshire. And you were one of the main proponents, I would say, of anyone I know, of Mr. Bell in an England shirt again.
Absolutely. Of course I was. If he hit the ground running early season, I think, he would have had a very strong case with an inexperienced batting lineup of maybe having a slot. I think that's gone now, Ian, unfortunately, to be quite honest. I think by the time you start playing again, there will be plenty of players sticking their hand up, scoring runs at county championship level. I think that's what's going to be exciting for me, watching the first couple of rounds of these county championship games. A, watching the England players, and then B, who's sticking their hands up for those slots that are sort of not quite inked in, grading with pencil.
Exactly.
Those pencil slots, so you're looking at 1, 2 and 3. Who in the county championship are sticking their hand up and saying, I want a bit of this?
Exactly. I love the fact that he's just set me up for this, and I'm going to drop a little bit of a director to brilliantly shiny new website, leadingedgecricket.com. Get yourself over there. That's where you'll find all the podcasts and everything else we're doing, including the articles. And I put one together pretty recently, what to do with a problem like an opener, and that's looking at just what Chris was saying, those spots in the lineup, Rory Burns as a partner, and there's maybe just a question mark over one other spot potentially, depending on how they jig things around. But get yourself over there, have a read of that. I've put 6 or 7 players out there who I think could be in the conversation, and it's I think it's well worth a read. Chris, what do you reckon?
Well, I've read it and I think it's well worth a read, and I'd agree with you wholeheartedly. Dom Sibley's another name I'd add, but that's because I'm a Warwickshire fan. Actually, you don't want all our players.
Can't mention everybody.
Well, he's been doing very well, and he's been scoring runs in Dubai recently, so yeah, it's all good. I think we're setting up for a quite interesting first couple of months of the county championship.
Absolutely. And just to mention the evergreen batsman that we're talking about in Ian Bell, what about another one? Shane Watson. He finished the tournament in the PSL 430 runs, an average of 43, strike rate of 143.81, top scorer in the tournament. I thought this man was retiring a few years ago.
It's incredible. He's like the Duracell bunny. He just keeps going on and on and on, doesn't he?
Exactly.
He's getting results all the time.
We wrote him off last year in the IPL, and then he went and got a man of the match performance in the final. I'm sure I'm not going to write him off ever again. Although I did used to love him standing in front of all three, getting triggered LB. Moving on, Chris, we are looking ahead to the English summer, and we're looking ahead to, obviously, the World Cup. So are Sri Lanka. Now, their opener, DIMUTH Karunaratne, he was set to be joining Hampshire. Massive deal as their overseas player. But that's looked like it's going south now. The 30-year-old, obviously, we all know he was a standing test captain recently. He helped them to that brilliantly and surprisingly brilliant 2-0 victory in South Africa in the Test Series. He's not played in the ODIs for Sri Lanka since 2015, but he has now been asked to stay back in Sri Lanka during April and play in their domestic 50-over competition because he's one of 3 players, apparently, in line for the captaincy of the Sri Lanka team, currently held by Malinga. Bit of a strange one, this one.
They're in a bit of a strange place, Sri Lanka, which makes their results in South Africa even the more surprising, in that they're almost a team in complete turnaround. They've lost a few of the greats, and they're almost, rebuilding this, and they're not quite sure where they're going.
It's really nice to see a nation other than England make you kind of doing U-turns and wholesale changes on what feels like almost the eve of the World Cup. I
just don't think they've got a real idea of what their top 15 are, or anything in that respect.
No. I mean, Karunaratne is absolutely stud of a player, and I'm so pleased that he's actually getting this opportunity. It's a shame for Hampshire, and it's a shame for English county cricket.
Absolutely.
But it shocks me that he wasn't in this setup. He's such a good player. He's a top 10, top 15 sort of batsman in world test cricket at the moment. So if you've got a player like that, Sri Lanka are in a little bit of an in-between phase, aren't they, for want of a better term?
Rebuilding, I would suggest, Yeah,
exactly. And just let's have a look. Sri Lanka are still playing in South Africa at the minute. As we mentioned, 2-0. They beat South Africa 2-0 in test matches. That was a shocker. Absolute shocker. That was probably more shocking than seeing England beat Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
It's not gone so well since then. South Africa have won 5-0 in the ODIs, Chris.
Very one-way traffic.
but we have seen a little bit of a comeback from Sri Lanka. They tied the first T20. It even went down to a super over.
It did.
Malinga and Imran Tahir were the brave boys doing it with the ball. So they got the tie out of that. There's 2 to play. I think they can start the next game as we record. They start it tomorrow. So we'll see how that finishes. But Karunararatne, shame for Hampshire. But obviously Sri Lanka are thinking that they need to make some sharp changes. Just while we're talking about South Africa and Sri Lanka and looking ahead to the IPL, which is imminent, Lungi NGIDI and Anrich Notje. Anyone have any idea how you pronounce that man's name? I'm going to call him Andre North. He was supposed to be in the KKR this year. He was his first year, the 25-year-old quick. And NGIDI, which is one of the players I love, he's for CSK. They're both going to be missing the IPL with injuries. That's a big, big shame for South Africa. Do you know what's also a big, big shame, Chris?
We're not talking about the New Yorkshireman, are we?
The New Yorkshireman. The New Yorkshireman. I wonder where he was going with that. I thought he was going to start talking baseball. The New Yorkshireman, Duanne Olivier. Duanne Olivier, he's obviously signed on a Kolpak, a 3-year Kolpak deal. Shockwaves, I would suggest, with this one. I don't want to be exaggerating here, but that's a shocker. 10 test matches for the Proteas. He's took 48 wickets, an average of 19.
I know. It's incredible.
I think the only other player with a comparable record at the minute is Mohammad Abbas, Pakistan?
Possibly. Yes.
Incredible record. This is unreal. I didn't realise what a record he had. So he's quit international cricket basically for the financial security of a county deal at Headington, the long-term deal. We'll go on to something he said in a minute, but just what's your take on the whole Kolpak scenario here and Olivier turning his back on South Africa and international cricket for South Africa?
It saddens me, and it's not just this one case that you look at. You can see different formats of cricket struggling because of financial gains in other areas. I think what the administrations need to look at longer term is how do we make Test cricket available to the best players.
Yeah,
and
I think Jason Holder spoke about it, didn't he, about the salaries.
And maybe if we are having a Test cricket championship, there's a minimum rate of pay.
Yeah,
maybe that's one way that we say, right, this is what we have to do to guarantee that these sides are strong. For Olivier, it's strange because, I mean, if I was him or anyone else, I know, and you dream about playing for your country, and then you get there and you have this dream start. Would you really sack it all off to go and play at Yorkshire?
Yeah, he was part of a big thing as well. You've got the likes of NGIDI, you've got Beth Lequer, you've got Rabada, obviously, and you've got Andre, who we just mentioned. You've still got Dale Steyn there. He's come back. He's come back strong.
Yeah.
This guy, Duanne Olivier, he was the kind of the heir to the throne of Dale Steyn, wasn't he? The long-term replacement here. It's such a shame. The man can't be rubbing, looking down the back of the sofa for a couple of quid to buy himself a sandwich, is it?
No.
He can't be that. I appreciate he wants to go after a few quid for his family, blah blah blah. But dude, I don't get it. I really don't get this one. This is much worse than KP in my opinion.
I'm a bit shocked because let's be honest, there's plenty of opportunities for international cricketers to play in county championship, to go and play in Australia,
T20s, IPL,
whatever, without the need to have to turn their back on the country.
Yeah, surely you can go and do a KFC advert or something, make a few rand.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if I was a South African, I'd be very disappointed, and certainly if I was a member of his dressing room, I would feel very unhappy.
Hugely let down. Francois Faf-du-Plessis, he was not happy, obviously, when this news broke. Obviously, other members of the squad were not happy. That was before he decided to dig himself a bigger hole. He's now basically... Let's use his quote first, shall we?
I think you should.
I accept that my test career is over for South Africa, but if I do well, hopefully in the future, I can play for England, he said. You always need to put your mind to certain goals. Holy shit, Duane. Oh, he wants to make sure he's never welcome back in South Africa, doesn't he?
It's rather an arrogant statement. He's obviously a very good cricketer, but you know, it's one thing to say it and another thing to mean it, and it's, you know, the level of self-importance that he's got there is quite shocking.
I feel like he needed to say all that in his inside voice. Yes. And not say it in his outside voice and say it out loud.
It'd be nice if it happened, but I don't want to admit to this openly.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, with what he's got in mind, Jofra Archer has obviously just qualified for England. He already had a passport, so that's a different scenario in my opinion. But what will need to happen? So Olivier, I think he's about 26 at the minute. If in order to obtain British citizenship, he needs to make sure he doesn't play in South Africa as a local player. He needs to spend at least 210 days for each of the next 3 years in the UK. And then he would be eligible to play for England in 2022, and he would be about 29 at the time. Whether England do it, I suppose we can be as principled as we like, but if suddenly we've got an absolute dearth of quick bowlers in 2022, I'm sure...
The level that ours seem to be breaking down is probably quite plausible.
Exactly. So I don't want to say he will never play for England. How disgraceful of him to even suggest it. But, geez, let's remember James Pattinson, the Grimsby-born Australian. So, oh, no, was that Darren Pattinson? I've got my Pattinsons wrong today. Darren Pattinson was our Grimsby-born one-test wonder. James Pattinson is the guy that's coming back to Notts. Don't panic, Notts fans. It's not Darren Pattinson. My word. Sorry about that one, everybody. One ODI series to another. We are over to India. Australia were in town. This was massive, and I can't believe we didn't get around to talking about this, so apologies we're a bit late to it. But you all know what happened, but let's just kind of cover it off a bit. So we like talking about cricket, and that's what we're doing here, isn't it? So that's why we're going to talk about it.
It is indeed.
T20 series, we won't go into that. 2-0 to...
It was 2-0 to Australia. Australia.
Yeah.
Closest games, to be honest. Nobody got carried away. I think the first game was pretty much last over. It's there or thereabouts.
Yeah. So set it up nicely, didn't it? For the 5-match ODI series. India were cruising 2-0 after the first two ODIs. We got a Kedar Jadhav man of the match performance in a close one, a pretty low scoring game. 236 played 240 in the first test. Lots of starts from Australia. Not much doing there. India again, some steady storylines. MS Dhoni and Jadhav, though, 81 not out. Decent knock from that young man. Virat Kohli, though, he got man of the match, 100 in the second ODI, 2-0. India won by eight runs, 116 for Virat, King Kohli. Again, lots of starts. This is just a frustrating couple of ODIs for Australia. But at this point, if you're Australia, you're restricting India to relatively small totals in the grand scheme of things. And you're making starts, but you're not going on. You would hope that good things would happen.
Absolutely.
And good things did happen. Usman Khawaja, good things happened. Absolutely. 104 for Usman. Aaron Finch, his opening partner in this one. 193 partnership when the first wicket fell, when Finch was dismissed in this one. 313 for 5 in the third ODI. Australia starting to believe. And they restricted Australia to 281. Virat Kohli with his second consecutive 123. And I'm going to say that India then got hit by the Australian bug of a lot of starts. We'll just quickly get into the fourth ODI. Big scoring game, this one. India, 358 for 9. Big score, 143 for Shikhar Dhawan, 95 for fellow opener Rohit Sharma. A few starts as they're bludgeoning their way through. Pat Cummins, 5, one of my favourites. But then for Australia, 91 for Usman Khawaja, the man's on form. Peter Hanscom, 117, and 84 for Ashton Turner. That's a big one for him off just the 43 deliveries. So we are 2-2 at this point. We moved to Delhi for the fifth and final. Surely India could not...
Well, you'd hope so.
...let it turn around. Not at home. Not like this. But they did, and I'm so sorry to, for all you Indian guys out there, I'm so sorry to have to bring this up again. I'm sure you're trying to forget about it, but Usman Khawaja, he's going to be in your sleep. He's going to be in your dreams. He was man of the match in the fifth and final, a straight 100 before he was dismissed, 52 for Hanscom and a few others here and there. For India, again, it's what we're talking about in this series, lots of starts. We're not going to go into detail of the bowling or whatever else, but that, for me, is a shocker, is a surprise. I did not see Australia going into India and winning 3-2, especially not after being 2-0 down.
It's very peculiar. Like I said, everything's a bit topsy-turvy. Well, one thing that I wasn't really aware of, but I've just noticed, is that the Indians had two different squads. They had a squad for the first and second ODI, which they won, and they had a squad for the third, fourth and fifth.
Go for the first squad.
Yeah, go for the first squad, please. I don't know if that had any effect on it or not, or whether Australia just got into their stride. And as Richie said, those starts, when they started happening, that was it. Yeah. And when the batsmen started playing, they played better. But you would certainly have expected a stronger show from India against an Australia missing several key players in Indian conditions.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Really, this one. Australia, they're still trying to find their feet with their squad. They're going to, Aaron Finch is there as captain, but he's not got the best form, but he did give himself a 93 in this series. Yep. It really is interesting that every single team at the minute going into the World Cup, I wouldn't say there's one team out there that's just going, yeah, we're good. Things are looking great. Everyone seems to have their own little challenges, their own little battles at the minute, and I don't think there's anybody that's jumping to the front to really say that this is our tournament.
What you seem to have are lots of very strong teams that will win series, but they're all making a blooper every third, fourth, fifth game.
Yeah,
that concerns me. That's not how you win World Cups.
No.
World Cups, you steamroller and you just keep going. So I think looking ahead to the World Cup, I think everyone was always saying, it's one or two or three teams. I think it's much more wide open than that now.
Oh, massively, yeah. But you were talking India and England, weren't you, probably initially?
Yep.
But now suddenly there are other teams there or thereabouts. I really like, South Africa. Obviously they've just demolished Sri Lanka, haven't they? West Indies are going to be a bit of an outsider.
They've got power. If Gale has his swan song, who knows what could happen?
Exactly. India, obviously, they're moving and looking towards the IPL now, which starts very, very soon. Starts this weekend. We're all very excited.
Massively.
But we're not sure it's on telly over here. Sky Sports just seem to have dropped an absolute you-know-what on this one. So we need to find out how we're going to be digesting and eating up our IPL coverage in England at the minute.
I'm sure we'll find the links.
I'm sure we will find the link somewhere, most definitely. So India's going to be all about the IPL. Australia, they move across to the UAE next. They're going to be playing an ODI tournament. They're going to be playing an ODI series, should I say, against Pakistan. Now, two names that have missed out on this one are a certain David Warner and Steve Smith. They would have been available by, I think, the third or fourth ODI in this series, but Australia have decided to keep them to one side for now. They're both having a little bit of treatment. They've both got their own little niggles, and then they're off to play in the IPL, as we spoke about. So they're going to be joining the Indians. Warner's going to be playing at Sunrisers Hyderabad again, and Steve Smith is with his Rajasthan Royals. So we'll talk about them in a moment, but Australia looking ahead. Mitchell Stark's going to miss out on this squad. As we said, the Aaron Finch is a little bit out of form, but I think that's probably a bit harsh after he played pretty well in India. Nathan Lyon, he gets another chance to have a go. Peter Hanscom, he's looking forward. Ashton Turner, Alex Carey, the wicket-keeper batsman, they're all kind of going, having a go. The Richardson brothers, as we like to call them, Giant Kane. Khawaja, I can't believe what form Khawaja's on, and Glenn Maxwell's in there as well. Interesting looking Australia squad. They're not jumping out at me at the minute, but suddenly if you added a David Warner and a Steve Smith into that squad,
and
Starks and Mitchell Stark, it's starting to look a little bit lively, isn't it?
What surprised me is how well some of those players, who I haven't rated necessarily highly, in India have done. They've stood up, they've started getting wickets, they've started scoring big runs, and you start to add in the big players when they're back, and maybe Australia could be a bit of a threat. Yeah,
exactly. If the likes of Ashton Turner and others are going to be stepping in and doing pretty well, Pat Cummins is one of the vice captains along with Alex Carey, so he's becoming more and more of an important senior part of this squad in their ethos as well as the performances. So it's starting to look pretty strong. the whole Warner and Smith one is just a bit of a peculiar one for me at the minute. And, you know, obviously we all know they had the 12-month ban after the incident. It's like talking about Hulk, isn't it, or something? The incident. So apparently, according to David Warner, when him and Smith were back in the meet-up with the squad recently, apparently there were lots of big hugs and cuddles, Chris.
It's like long-lost brothers coming back.
Yeah, it's like we didn't really leave. The boys were very accepting of us coming in with open arms. I mean, that's just lovely, but also just... Well,
I think he's going to get a very different welcome in England this summer.
Yeah.
I'll be quite honest that him and Mr. Smith are going to need a very thick shell, because it's going to be non-stop throughout the summer for them in the World Cup and then the Ashes series.
Oh, bring it on.
It's going to be entertaining.
Tin hat will be required for those boys. Weirdly, Warner's going to get loads more, isn't he?
He is.
They both understand. Warner has decided, it's a big change. It's about accepting that and playing what our role should be. And again, they're talking about making sure that they're being aligned with the team values moving forward. So that's obviously very key to this Australian setup as they go. Let's see how long it lasts if the results go against them as we start getting into the English summer. So that's where Smith and Warner are. They're going to be IPL. We're going to be talking IPL soon. We're going to get a preview out, but it's going to be a little bit of a bugger because of Mr. Rob. He's not going to be around until after the IPL starts. We will get a bit of a preview out, but it will be after the greatest tournament in the world has started. It's going to be after the first few games, so we will get to that. Back to Australia for a moment. Cameron Bancroft, one of the other party, one of the other three, the Sandpaper Trio. He's got himself a nice little gig. He's the overseas pro for Durham in this English summer. He's now got the captaincy.
It's bizarre.
Ian Botham at the helm. Cam Bancroft. How would you take that if you're from Durham?
I would be somewhat upset. I'll be quite honest. I'm surprised that counties approach these individuals at all, given what had happened. It did amaze me. And then for Durham to name him as skipper, well, we'll see.
It's a strange one, isn't it? He's as a player, if I was playing for Durham, have I been consulted? Am I comfortable? How's the dressing room feel? You'd think there's a bit of a players' panel there, wouldn't you? With one or two senior players that you're both from, the coach, etc., can kind of get the pulse of. And I'd be surprised if that was a unanimous decision of people saying, I'm more than happy to get behind this guy that got a little bit of sandpaper out and then shoved it down his pants at the end of it. So all very bizarre on that one. I'm not sure how that's going to go. Other Australian moves, it's probably a good time for us to just quickly mention this. Kane Richardson, he's moving over to Derbyshire. Derbyshire and Leicestershire, like last year, they're making some nice moves again. I like what they're doing. They're usually the whipping boys of Division 2.
Yeah, Derbyshire are toughening up.
Yeah,
they've got rid of an awful lot of players.
Yeah, and it's good to see.
Slimmed right down to pretty much the bare minimum. But I think Kim Barnett's back there now, and I think that they're going the right direction.
Yeah, and definitely, and that's what we want. Leicestershire last year with some really good signings. Derbyshire starting with Kane Richardson. That's a hell of a one. Talking to Durham as well, Darcy Short's going to be joining his Aussie compatriot in the T20 competition this summer. I think that's a heck of a signing for Durham. He's really, really solid, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just put him in the same kind of bracket category as like a Joe Denley. He's gone around some of these tournaments. He's paid his dues. He's scored runs in PSL. He's scored runs in IPL.
Yeah.
And now he's going to get a chance to come over to England in the Premier T20 tournament. Only joking. So that's the Aussies. That's where they are. Warner and Smith are on the plane on the way back. It's all coming back to normal. It's been a strange old year without the likes of Warner and Smith, but we'll see how that's going. Pakistan, just to mention them, they're resting about 5 or 6 key players in this squad for this tour, competition against Australia. They'll be then moving over to England, and that's when England will start getting serious. Maybe that'll be the first time we see Jofra Archer in an England shirt, but they'll be giving folks last chance before they pick the World Cup squads. So as we work our way towards the end of this podcast, we are obviously missing Rob, just in case he's listening. We want to get on now to a piece of cricket. History now, isn't it? It's crucial.
Expanding the club.
I love this. There's nothing more important for me in the cricket, really, is to see those associate members going up through the leagues and up through the ranks, whatever you want to call it, And we've seen it with Afghanistan and Ireland, the two newest members of the Test Cricket Club. There's not many clubs out there that has so few members as Test Cricket. There's only 12 of them. Obviously, they both had a Test match, didn't they, last year? Afghanistan got beat by India in their first. Yeah. Ireland got beat by Pakistan in theirs. Yeah. So Afghanistan were hosting, as strange as that might be, obviously, sadly, not in Afghanistan just yet, but they were hosting Ireland on this tour in India. And it was all about building up to this first Test match between the two nations. But before that, we had a little bit of razzmatazz. We had a little bit of Hazratullah Karzai razzmatazz in T20 form, didn't we?
We did indeed.
3-0 to Afghanistan. Pretty good going. And this included the most incredible second T20, 278 for 3 in 20 overs. Ridiculous.
Small ground.
It's got to be, hasn't it?
Into the wind.
I'm just wondering if Hazratullah Zazai, 162 off 62 balls, including 16 sixes and 11 fours, 261.3 strike rate. I'm wondering if they were playing on the edge of a square on a very small place and he was batting right and left-handed. That's incredible. That is unbelievable. These teams aren't that badly matched, but that just shows you the quality of these two countries, especially Afghanistan.
I think what's interesting is that Ireland used 8 bowlers in that game. They obviously didn't want to have a go.
Did anyone, the most important question, Chris, I'm going to throw at you as you look at the scorecard, did any Ireland bowler get under 10 and over?
No, the lowest economy was George Dockrell, 2 overs for 24.
Oh, so close, so close.
So everyone's going at least 2 runs a ball.
Gotta love 2020 cricket. So that's where we were. So Afghanistan beat Ireland 3-0 in the T20s, and then we moved on to
one day as
ODIs coming up. What happened in the ODIs, Chris?
Afghanistan cantered to the first, then we had a no resulter in the second. Third one, Ireland came back. Their first victory. They won one. Fourth ODI, Afghanistan, 2-1. And then Ireland levelled the series to make it 2-2.
So great experience. So before we look at the test, what an unbelievable experience for both nations, playing such a long series against one nation, rather than just having the scraps of one game here and there or a try series. It's really good to be able to
proper tour.
Yeah, develop your skills in the conditions, develop your skills against the opposition, adapt your game against the individuals, etc. Really, really important for both of these countries as they go forward. Great for Ireland as well, playing in India on a tour like this. Absolutely. That's going to be invaluable.
Good learning curve.
Absolutely. So we move ahead then, and this is what we want to talk about. We love Test cricket, and this is what we really want to look at. The one-off Test match. Afghanistan, they're one of the fastest ever to their first Test win.
Yeah.
I believe Australia won in their first.
Yeah, England in their second.
Afghanistan joined them.
Yeah, it's a full club.
So exactly. So maybe if they'd have had to go down the route of the Sri Lanka, the Zimbabwe, the Bangladesh, etc., it might have taken a little bit longer.
Well, oddly enough, New Zealand were the slowest.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
You've got some explaining to do, Rob. So Afghanistan, this is what we're talking about. They've got their first ever win. They beat India. They won by 7 wickets in this Test match at the Rajiv Gandhi Stadium in DARREN. So let's just have a little look at this. So Ireland started it off 172 all out inside day one. Tim Murtagh 54 not out
at 11.
Now that's digging.
Win the toss, bat.
That's digging you out of a hole. George Dockrell 39, so it really was a case of the tail wagging in this one.
Absolutely.
Nabi 3 for 36, and Ahmadzai 3 for 41, doing most of the damage for Afghanistan. In response, Afghanistan 314. Rahmat Shah missed out by 2 runs for the first. It would be the first centurion for Afghanistan, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So that was unfortunate for him. Captain Asghar Afghan 67 and Shahidi 61. So a nice lead of 144 going into the second innings. And from this point, from here and onwards, Ireland just could not get any control in the game whatsoever. Ireland played better in the second innings, wouldn't you say? 288, Balbirnie 82, O'Brien 56, but that man... geez. I mean, Ahmadzai for a start, 3 for 52. Good test for him. 6 wickets for 90 odd. But Rashid, 5 for 82.
34, yeah.
There's not much more we can say about that man. So it was all Afghanistan's at that point. Going into the fourth innings, fourth day, they needed about 140 odd, give or take a few runs here and there. 149 for 3 was the score in the end. Shah 76 and Janat 65. So Ramat Shah 76, Inshallah Janat. They're 65. They were 29 for 1 starting the day, 147 for victory to be accurate, and they put on a 139 run partnership. So that absolutely knackered up, let's put it bluntly, Ireland's hopes of getting anything out of this test match. Yeah. Brilliant to see these two nations going at it, and a heck of a test match by all reports.
Fantastic. I mean, the sadness for me was Ireland winning the toss and then not doing an England batting lineup and not delivering on the first day, because they scrapped harder from there on in, but all out 172, 85 for 9 at one point as well. 85 for 9. You're not going to win a test match from there, really, are you? First dig.
Get that order reversed, lads. So, from Asghar Afghan, the brilliantly named winning captain for Afghanistan, he said it's a historic day for Afghanistan, for our team and for our people. You can't be any happier for the country for what they've gone through over the last 30 years or more.
Absolutely.
This is just incredible. Just more power to them. Just the more cricket this country gets, the better they're going to be. They've got some unbelievable individuals. Rashid Khan obviously was leading the attack. He's going to be a star in the IPL again soon. He's going to be a star of the World Cup. Afghanistan are going to be absolutely box office in the World Cup. For Ireland, he admitted the Afghans outplayed us. We had to capitalise on the first innings, he said. If we'd done how we'd done in the second innings, it could have been a completely different game, but credit to Afghanistan. Stunning. I just think this is one of the best stories you could possibly have in the world of cricket at the moment. We've got so much coming up, but this is what we should be focusing on, stuff like this. And the more we hear about Afghanistan and Ireland and the others, but especially these two, the better for cricket.
Yeah, I mean, the talent pool's fantastic.
Too right. So we just mentioned briefly IPL. We are very, very close to IPL, Chris.
I'm excited.
We're all excited. I'm ready.
Excited.
We're gonna come. Like we said, we're gonna get out a bit of a preview coming up soon. We're gonna mash and mispronounce the names. We're gonna run through the squads. We're gonna look at a bit of history. We're gonna recap last year, and we're gonna also look to see who we think will be winning and who will be getting the awards. I'm sure we absolutely murdered it last year and got nowhere near any predictions. So we'll be trying to do exactly the same again this year. But that'll be the fun of it. There's no fun in trying to get it right all the time, is there?
Go with your heart.
Exactly. So, Chris, you won't be with us on this one. Would you like to throw any bizarre, random, maybe who do you like for it?
Well,
what about a leading run scorer?
I don't know if anyone's got Netflix out there, but I've never really been massively into the IPL, but I've been watching a series on the Mumbai Indians season last year. Fantastic. I must say, I'm rather taken with Hardik Pandya as a player, just to watch. Technically, he looks $1 million. So he's now one of my favourite up-and-coming cricketers.
So you sound like you are very much now in the camp of the Mumbai Indians for this tournament.
I think I might be.
Tawley's picked a team.
Yeah, I like Ishan Kishan. He's got a sparkle in his eye.
And he's got a great name as well.
Yeah, I can actually pronounce it, so that helps.
Lovely left-hander, isn't he? So that's going to be great. So we've got a Mumbai Indians fan here, folks, so that's one on your side. Me and Rob, obviously, we will look into this. We will have a look. I always had a little bit of a spot for Sunrisers Hyderabad, but I think David Warner playing there is going to make it very difficult for me to get on board.
Support them now.
The Yellows, the Chennai Super Kings, I do like the look of them again this year. Can't be writing them off, but it's going to be interesting. I think that we could, even Delhi this year, they've got some incredible young talent. Rishabh Pant, Prithvi Shaw, amongst others. You can't look past them. They've not had the best of times, but they could potentially do something. Who knows? But we will look into it. But roll on IPL. Can't wait to get stuck into that. And then just round the corner after that is the English County Championship summer.
Can't wait.
How is there so much cricket coming already?
Can't wait.
Right, so that's us today. I reckon that's episode 70 in the books. Chris, is there anything else you'd like to add? Will Jacks.
Will Jacks, yeah.
We can't leave without Chris telling us about Will Jacks. Here
we go. You may or may not be aware, but a lot of the county championships have been out in Dubai practising. I think Warwickshire are out there. They play Worcestershire, Somerset. Surrey are out there. A young lad called Will Jacks today. I can't remember who they were playing. It was Surrey against somebody. Proper county side, anyway. Scored 100 runs off 25 balls.
Sorry?
100 runs off 25 balls, Rich. Yeah, that's a strike rate of 400.
So let's break that down, because we all do math. We're all good at maths. But that's 4 runs per delivery.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing more that can be said for that.
Unfortunately, it doesn't count because it's not a recognised fixture. So I think Glenn Chappell and Mark Pettini are still the winners of the fastest 100. 27 balls each, and yes, it was declaration bowling.
That's horrific. Nobody needs a record that's being held by them two boys.
No, it's a worry, isn't it?
So yeah, that's unbelievable. So yeah, we've got Will Jackson there. We nearly forgot him. How dare we? How could we? So anything else you want to wrap up with?
I think that's about me done.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Rob, for going on holiday and leaving me having to do all this sort of stuff. Wow. And thank you, everybody, for listening. So do what you need to do for us, guys. Go and rate, go and review, go and subscribe, go and tell your friends, go and tell your mum.
Website.
And get on the website, leadingedgecricket.com. Get on there, read some articles. And if you want to write yourself an article, if you fancy writing, if you think that you are a bit of a budding, aspiring cricket journalist, get yourself an email across to us. Contact us, Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Send us a DM. Tell us what you want to write about and get writing. We will publish it, as long as it's half decent, which I'm sure it will be. We've had some great ones on there already. We've got people from all around the world. We've even had a young fella who I believe is 10 years old, Nakul, who did a wicked little article about Torley's new favourite player, Hardik Pandya. So anybody can do it. Get yourselves involved and get in touch. So, as Rob always says, until next time,